Welcome to our deep dive. Today, we're headed to the University of Gothenburg in Sweden.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, we've got a whole stack of articles from their magazine. Like, literally, it's a big pile here. We're talking research, we're talking student life. Yeah, all
Nice.
kinds of stuff. So are you ready to take a peek behind the curtain?
Absolutely. I'm always fascinated by what goes on in those hallowed halls of academia.
Okay, well, let's start with something a little bit shocking, maybe.
Okay.
So there was a recent study at the university, and get this,
Yeah.
45%, a full 45% of staff and students said that they have experienced harassment.
Wow.
Yeah, and what's even more surprising, I think, is that most of the reported incidents, they were saying,
Mm.
came from inside the institution itself.
So it's not coming from outside the university.
No, it's actually happening within the
Well,
university.
it's disturbing.
Yeah, and it really does make you kind of wonder about the power dynamics that are at play in those kinds of settings.
Uh-huh. Oh, absolutely. Academia often has these sort of hierarchical structures that can create an environment where those kinds of things can happen. It's really concerning.
It is, and it's kind of something that I feel like we don't talk about very often.
Yeah, and we should, because this study, I think it actually goes on to suggest that focusing on the top-down changes, things like leadership training, might be more effective than just relying on individuals to report these incidents.
Yeah, it makes you think about, if so many people are experiencing this, why are we not talking about it more?
Right.
But I mean, the impact is clear.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what that does to somebody, to their mental health, to their career, all of that stuff.
Yeah, it can be really damaging to create an environment like that. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it that it stifles creativity and innovation when people don't feel safe and supported.
Yeah.
But it's good that they are at least taking it seriously and thinking about ways to implement change.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to something a little more positive.
Okay.
This article talks about how the university is really making a push for international collaboration. They have researchers all over the world building networks with other institutions.
Right.
Like, for example, they've got this researcher named Jonathan Rogues. He's working on building connections with Japanese universities.
That's great. I mean, these kinds of collaborations are really essential in today's world. You know, science and research, they're global endeavors, and you need those diverse perspectives, that expertise from all over the world to really tackle these big challenges that we're facing.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's like, trying to solve a complex puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
You need all those different pieces from different places to see the whole picture.
Right, exactly.
These kinds of partnerships, they really bring together like the best minds from around the world to solve problems in new and innovative ways.
Yeah. And I think it's not just about the research itself, but it's also the opportunities that it creates for both the students and the faculty to experience different cultures.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Imagine the impact of that. Being a student and getting the chance to study in Japan,
Yeah.
immerse yourself in a new culture, work with leading researchers in your field. It's invaluable. And the fact that the university is supporting this kind of exchange,
Mm.
offering things like webinars, travel grants, mentorship programs, it really shows their commitment to fostering this global outlook.
Yeah, that's really great. Okay. Well, speaking of supporting students,
Uh-huh.
let's talk about students with disabilities at the University of Gothenburg.
Okay.
This article talks about how there's this growing number of students with disabilities at the university,
Right.
and the number of Legitimous users, it's quadrupled since 2014. Do you know what Legitimous is?
I do, actually. It's a software that helps students with, a range of things like note-taking and reading support. So it's like if you're struggling to keep up with notes in class, this software can actually record and transcribe everything for you. Yeah, I mean, it's really helping these students not just keep up, but actually excel in their studies.
That's amazing.
It's pretty incredible technology.
Yeah.
I think it highlights, the need for these kinds of services within higher education. And they have this coordinator of pedagogical support at the university, Charlotte Hawkerud, and she points out that there are these complexities involved, right?
Yeah.
So one of the challenges is, making sure students are getting the right diagnosis so that they can get the right support. And then another is just making students aware of the resources that are available
Yeah.
and how to access them.
Right. Right. Okay. So it sounds like, they're making progress, but there's still some work to be done.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so how about an inspiring story?
Okay, I like those.
All right, so this is about Anna Westerlund. She's a professor,
Okay.
but her career path has taken some really unexpected turns.
Hmm. Interesting.
So get this, she started as an elite gymnast.
Wow.
Yeah. Then she became a dentist, then an orthodontist,
Oh,
and
wow.
now she's a researcher and a teacher.
Quite the resume.
Yeah.
It sounds like she's got this incredible range of experience and knowledge that she brings to her work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what's interesting to me is that she says that her initial interest in dentistry came from a childhood experience with braces.
Hmm.
It's amazing how something so simple can spark a passion that shapes your whole career. Makes you wonder what seemingly ordinary things might be happening to us now that will, be these moments of inspiration later.
Right. And I'm sure her athletic background, all that discipline and perseverance she had to have, it's got to help with the demands of academia.
Oh, absolutely. Those skills are transferable to so many areas of life.
Sure.
That ability to focus, to set goals, to work hard, it's invaluable. And it sounds like her story really underscores the value of that interdisciplinary thinking and adaptability.
Right, yeah. Okay. Um, Speaking of unexpected paths,
Okay.
did you know there's a professor at Gothenburg who ran a movie theater?
A movie theater? Well,
Yeah, before he went into academia.
that's wild. I love those little glimpses into people's pasts.
Hmm.
It reminds us that they're not just academics, they're these complex individuals with all these life experiences.
Right, exactly. So this professor, his name is Per Kramer,
Okay.
and he's at the School of Business, Economics, and Law.
Okay.
And it seems like his life experiences have really fueled this passion he has for addressing global challenges.
Hmm.
He's a firm believer that the university has a responsibility to, like, tackle things head on.
Hmm.
We're talking conflicts, climate change, the mental health crisis, the big stuff.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see that kind of approach gaining traction.
Hmm.
Universities, they're not just seeking knowledge for knowledge's sake anymore. They're really trying to find solutions and make a real difference in the world.
Right.
And I think that's important for the students too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instilling in them that sense of responsibility.
Right.
That the world has these problems, but that we can be part of finding solutions.
Exactly, yeah. Okay. So, are you ready for something completely different?
I am. Bring it on.
All right. We're going to dive into the world of art and AI.
Oh, okay. This should be interesting. The intersection of art and artificial intelligence is really fascinating. It's making us rethink what it means to be creative.
It really is. So there's this project. It's called VOM Conversations,
Okay.
and it basically features this AI that can actually interact with visitors at the Universium Science Center, which I guess is like a museum or something.
Oh, cool.
And the topic of conversation, wombats.
Wombats, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a challenge in itself, right? I mean, creating a non-human voice that can actually engage people
Right?
and hold a conversation and be believable.
Right. I mean, it makes you think about, can AI actually understand the emotions that we experience when we look at art?
That's a great question. It gets at the heart of what art is all about. I mean, is it just technical skill?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there something more, some deeper understanding of human experience and emotion that's being conveyed? I mean, some people are really arguing that AI can never truly capture that human element, that true art comes from this wellspring of experience that a machine just can't replicate.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I mean, and this debate is only going to get bigger.
Right.
As the technology advances, it's something we're going to have to really keep thinking about. And there's this artist, Pelle Dahlstedt.
Okay.
He makes this really, really bold statement. He says, AI is about rearranging what we already know, not creating something truly new.
He's got a point. It's like AI is drawing on this massive database of existing images and styles and kind of recombining them. But is it actually creating something fundamentally new? That's the question.
Yeah. And I mean, it brings up a lot of ethical concerns, like who owns the copyright if a machine creates a piece of art? Is it really original? It's a lot to think about.
Absolutely. I mean, these are big questions about the role of the artist, of originality, of ownership, in a world where AI is playing a bigger and bigger part.
Yeah. Well, before we get too lost in the complexities of technology and all of that,
Okay.
let's circle back to something a little more, I guess, grounded.
Okay.
The pursuit of a good life, a healthy life.
I like that. Back to basics. I think in a world that's so dominated by technology, it's easy to forget about the importance of our own well-being.
Yeah. So this next article is all about this book called An Oven Tad Glenta, which I believe translates to An Unexpected Clearing.
Nice title.
And it basically advocates for this holistic view of well-being. Blending medical advice with philosophical reflections, historical perspectives, all of that.
It sounds like a very well-rounded approach, not just focusing on one aspect of well-being, but, looking at the whole picture.
Right,
The
exactly.
mind-body-spirit connection.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a very interesting read, drawing on all these different perspectives.
Yeah. And what's really, really intriguing is that it even includes recipes.
Recipes.
But the focus isn't just on what you eat.
Okay.
It's about how you prepare it. It encourages people to use natural ingredients, to practice mindful preparation, like slow down, savor each step.
That's a great idea. I mean, it's so easy to just rush through meal prep
Right.
and not really pay attention. But when you slow down, you appreciate the process. It becomes this kind of meditative act.
Right, yeah. And you actually connect more with the food that you're making.
Absolutely. And I think that connection, it's not just about the food itself, it's about connecting to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and appreciating the simple act of nourishing our bodies.
Right, yeah. Okay. So speaking of connections,
Okay.
our next article explores the world of orangeries in Sweden.
Orangeries.
Yeah, have you ever heard of them?
I have. They're those beautiful structures,
Oh,
almost like palaces for plants. They used to house exotic fruits and plants.
right, exactly.
Hmm.
And they weren't just about aesthetics.
No, they were really functional too, right? A
Mhm.
way to grow these, delicate plants.
Yeah, they played a vital role in food production and also, I guess, social status back then.
Oh, absolutely. Having an orangery was a sign of wealth and sophistication. It showed that you had the means to create this kind of controlled environment to grow these, rare and luxurious plants, especially in a climate like Sweden.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's pretty impressive when you think about it, the effort that they went to grow these things.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a glimpse into the history of globalization and trade, showing how interconnected the world was even way back then.
Yeah. It's fascinating how some things never really change. I mean, that desire to connect with other cultures, to experience the beauty and the bounty of nature.
Right.
It's a very human pursuit.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
Okay, so are you ready for one final tale?
Yeah, hit me with it. What do you have?
All right. This one is a gripping story of adventure and tragedy,
Oh, okay.
and it takes us all the way back to 1897.
Wow.
It was this attempt to reach the North Pole by balloon.
By balloon.
Yeah, led by a guy named Salomon August André.
The Andre expedition, I've heard of this. It's a really fascinating but sad story.
Yeah, it is. And his plan was really bold for the time. I mean, they designed this hydrogen balloon specifically for this journey.
Yeah, they were really pushing the boundaries of technology back then. I mean, it was a huge undertaking.
It was. And I mean, you can imagine the whole world was watching this. It really captured the imagination, this idea of, human ingenuity and exploration, this drive to conquer the unknown.
Yeah. And it really speaks to that spirit of adventure that I think is still alive in us today, that desire to explore, to push limits.
Right. But from the start, their journey was just plagued with problems.
Yeah, it's a harsh environment up there.
Yeah, they were dealing with strong winds, equipment failures, and of course, just the brutal conditions of the Arctic.
Yeah, unforgiving.
It is. And tragically, their balloon ended up being forced down onto the ice. And it wasn't until decades later that they actually found their remains.
Wow.
And it kind of gave us this glimpse into their final moments. And it really sparks all these questions about what actually happened. Like, how did they survive for as long as they did? What were their last days like?
Yeah, it's a story that still resonates today. I mean, it's a reminder that even with the best intentions and the most advanced technology, nature can be a really formidable force.
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you think about the fragility of human life, when we're faced with these vast and unpredictable forces.
Absolutely. And I think it's a good reminder for us, as we continue to explore and push boundaries, to approach it all with a healthy dose of respect for the power of the natural world.
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson to take away from this story.
It is. And despite the tragedy, there's also something, I don't know, inspiring about their story. It speaks to that human spirit, the courage to venture into the unknown, even when facing incredible risks.
Yeah, it really does.
And that pursuit of knowledge, I think it's a powerful thing. It drives us to do incredible things.
Yeah, and it can take us to some pretty unexpected places.
It can. And that's what makes life so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. All right, well, that brings us to the end of part one of our deep dive into the University of Gothenburg.
Already. Wow, time flies when you're having fun.
It really does. But don't worry, we've got plenty more to explore. We'll be back soon with part two, where we'll delve even deeper into the world of this fascinating institution.
Can't wait. I'm hooked.
I knew you would be.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how much things have changed in exploration. And some things haven't changed too, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we've come a long way in terms of technology and safety, but some challenges are still the same.
Yeah, like that harassment thing we talked about.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking. 45% of staff and students.
Yeah, almost half.
I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
And, it's not just a number. It's real people, real experiences. And it really shows that there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes you wonder, if it's that pervasive, why aren't we talking about it more?
Right.
Like, why is this not a bigger conversation?
I think there's still a lot of stigma around it.
Yeah.
People are afraid to speak up.
Right.
And sometimes they're not even sure what constitutes harassment,
Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, the impact's undeniable.
Yeah.
Think about what that does to somebody. You're in a place where you're supposed to feel safe and supported,
Yeah.
and then this happens.
It can be really damaging, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, it's not just about individual cases. It's about creating a culture where this kind of behavior is not tolerated.
Yeah.
So it's really about, changing the system.
Right. Tackling the root cause.
Exactly. And the study made some good recommendations like mandatory training programs for all staff and students and clearer reporting mechanisms.
Yeah, those are all good steps.
Definitely. But it's also about, empowering individuals to speak up.
Right.
And making sure that their concerns are taken seriously.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's switch gears for a second and talk about something more positive.
Okay, sounds good.
The university's doing some amazing things to support students with disabilities.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Right, and it's making a real difference. I mean, remember that statistic about the Legitimacy users?
Quadrupling since 2014.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I think it shows that there's a real need for these kinds of services.
There is.
And Legitimous, it's a great example of how technology can be used to level the playing field.
Yeah, absolutely.
It gives students the tools they need to succeed, regardless of their disability.
Right. And we talked to Charlotte Hockerid, the coordinator of pedagogical support at the university, and she was saying, early intervention is so important and making sure that students are getting the right support, the right strategies.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Every student is different, and they need different kinds of support.
Exactly.
And it's about finding those right tools and resources for each individual.
Yeah, and it's about making sure students know it's available to them.
Oh, absolutely. There's no point in having these great resources if people don't know about them.
Right, exactly.
So it's really about raising awareness and making sure that students feel empowered to ask for help.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk about Anna Westerlund again.
Oh, yeah, the gymnast, dentist, orthodontist, researcher, teacher.
Yeah, that's her. It's a pretty amazing story.
It is.
And I think it's a great example of how, you don't always have to have this straight path in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes those detours are what make things interesting.
Yeah, sometimes the most unexpected turns lead to the most amazing destinations.
That's true. And, her background in gymnastics, I'm sure that helped her develop a lot of discipline.
Oh, absolutely. Gymnastics is all about discipline and perseverance.
Yeah.
And those are qualities that are essential for success in any field, really.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just fascinating to think that her interest in dentistry came from a childhood experience with braces.
It is.
Like, you never know what's going to spark a
You
passion.
don't. It could be something so simple, something you don't even think twice about at the time.
Yeah. And then it changes the course of your life.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. Okay, well, let's talk about Per Kramer again.
Oh, yeah, the professor who used to run a movie theater.
Yeah, that's him. Pretty cool, right?
It is. It's always interesting to hear about people's backgrounds,
Yeah, I think it makes them more relatable.
It does.
And I think it shows that, you can come from anywhere and do anything.
Yeah. There's no one right path to success.
Right. And Kramer, he's really passionate about using his platform to address global challenges.
He is. He's a big believer in the university's responsibility to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important perspective.
It is. For too long, academia has been seen as this ivory tower, this place that's disconnected from the real world. But Kramer, he's one of a growing number of academics who are challenging that perception. They're
Yeah.
saying, we have a responsibility to use our knowledge and our resources to address the big issues.
Right. And I think that's really inspiring.
It is. It gives me hope for the future.
Yeah, me too. Okay, well, let's dive back into the world of art and AI.
Okay, this is where things start to get really interesting.
It is.
I mean, the intersection of art and AI, it's raising all sorts of questions.
Yeah, like what does it mean to be creative?
Right.
Can a machine be creative?
Yeah, and what about originality?
Mm.
I mean, if an AI creates a piece of art, who owns it?
Right, yeah. And I mean, we talked about the VOM Conversations project.
Yeah, with the AI that can talk about bats.
Yeah. And it's a fun project, but it also makes you think.
It does. It makes you think about the limits of AI.
Mhm.
Can AI ever truly understand human emotion?
Yeah, that's a big question.
It is. And the artist Pelly Dahlstedt, he's pretty skeptical.
Yeah, he doesn't think AI can be truly original.
Right. He says it's more about rearranging existing data than creating something truly new.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
There is. And, it brings up this question of, like, what is the role of the artist in a world where AI can create art?
Right.
It's a question that we're still grappling with.
Yeah, and I don't think there are any easy answers.
No, there aren't.
Okay, well, let's take a step back from the world of technology for a moment.
Okay, I like that. Back to reality.
Yeah, back to the basics of, like, how to live a good life.
Yeah, I think that's important.
It is. And, we were talking about this book on Oven Tad Glenta.
Right, an unexpected clearing.
Yeah. And it's all about finding that balance in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's about taking care of your mind, your body, your spirit.
Right. It's about looking at well-being holistically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, I love that the book includes recipes.
Me too.
Hmm.
It's not what you'd expect from a book about well-being.
No, but I think it's a great way to illustrate the point that, it's the little things that matter.
Yeah, it's about slowing down and appreciating the simple things in life.
Right. And it's about being mindful, even when you're doing something as ordinary as cooking a meal.
Yeah, I think that's really important. We live in such a fast-paced world,
We do.
and it's so easy to just rush through everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when we slow down and we pay attention and we savor the moment,
Yeah,
that's when we really start to appreciate life.
right. Okay, well, let's talk about orangeries again.
Oh, yeah, those are pretty amazing.
They were. Imagine trying to grow oranges and lemons in Sweden.
I know, it's not exactly the ideal climate.
No, it's not. But they figured out a way to do it.
They did, and they did it in style.
Yeah, those orangeries were like little palaces.
They were.
They were a symbol of wealth and sophistication.
And they were also a symbol of human ingenuity.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, it's pretty amazing what people can do when they set their minds to it. And, those orangeries, they're a reminder that people have always been fascinated by exotic plants. They've always wanted to bring a little bit of the tropics into their lives.
Yeah. I think it also speaks to that human desire to connect with nature.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
It is.
I mean, we're all part of nature, whether we realize it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have this innate need to connect with the natural world.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, well, let's talk about the Andrée expedition again.
Oh, yeah. That was a tragic story.
It was. But it was also a story of incredible courage and determination.
It was.
I mean, these guys set out to reach the North Pole in a balloon.
I know, it's crazy when you think about it.
It is.
But it also shows how far we've come.
Yeah, in terms of technology.
Yeah.
And I think it's a reminder that, exploration is always going to be risky.
It is.
But it's also essential.
Yeah.
It is. It's what drives us forward.
Yeah. And I think the Andrée expedition, it's a story that we can all learn from.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to be bold, to dream big, and to never give up on our dreams.
Yeah, I think that's a great message to end on.
It is.
To never stop exploring, to never stop learning.
Exactly. There's always something new to discover, both out there in the world and within ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. All right, welcome back to our final deep dive into the University of Gothenburg.
It's been a fascinating journey so far, hasn't it? So much to unpack.
There is. And, one thing that really stood out to me is the university's commitment to creating an inclusive environment.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That came through in a lot of the articles we read.
Yeah. And it's not just about, talking the talk.
Right, it's about walking the walk.
Exactly. And they're doing that in a lot of ways, like their support for students with disabilities.
Yeah, we touched on that before, the Legiminous software.
Yeah, that's been a game changer for so many students.
It really has. I mean, imagine being able to have lectures transcribed in real time.
Or have complex texts read aloud to you.
Yeah, it can make a huge difference.
It can. And it's not just about keeping up. It's about giving those students the opportunity to excel.
Right. And it's about recognizing that everyone learns differently.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to education.
Exactly. And Charlotte Hawker, the coordinator of pedagogical support, she was saying, it's all about finding the right tools and strategies for each individual student.
Yeah, that's so important. Personalized learning, that's the future.
It is. Okay, well, let's talk about Anna Westerland again.
Oh, yeah, she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, gymnast, dentist, orthodontist, researcher, teacher.
She's done it all.
It's like she collected careers along the way.
I know, right? And she's excelled at every single one.
It's pretty incredible.
And what's really cool is that her initial interest in dentistry came from a childhood experience with braces.
Yeah, it's amazing how those seemingly small things can have such a big impact on our lives.
They can. It makes you wonder what experiences we're having now that will shape our future.
That's a good question.
Yeah. And, Anna's story is a great example of how our passions can evolve over time and how our experiences, even those that seem unrelated, can all contribute to who we become.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, let's shift gears and talk about Per Kramer.
Oh, yeah. The professor with the strong opinions.
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to speak his mind.
And, I respect that. It's important to stand up for what you believe in.
It is. And he's really passionate about using his platform to address global challenges.
Yeah, he sees the university as having a responsibility to make a difference in the world.
Right. He's not just interested in knowledge for knowledge's sake.
No, he wants to use that knowledge to solve problems.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important perspective.
It is. It's about bridging the gap between academia and the real world.
Yeah. And it's about inspiring students to get involved.
Right, to be agents of change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's dive back into the world of art and AI.
Okay, this is where things start to get really mind-bending.
It is. I mean, AI is changing the way we think about creativity.
It is. I mean, can a machine be creative? That's the big question.
It is. And there's no easy answer.
No, there isn't. But it's a question that we need to be asking.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the VOM Conversations Project, it was a fun way to explore some of these ideas.
It was. And it showed how AI can be used to create engaging experiences. But it also raised some bigger questions.
Yeah, like can AI ever truly understand human emotions?
Right. Can it create art that moves us in the same way that human art can?
Yeah. And, Pally Dahlstead, he's pretty skeptical.
Yeah, he doesn't think so. He thinks AI is more about rearranging existing data than creating something truly new.
Right. And I think there's some validity to that argument.
There is. But, the technology is still evolving.
Yeah, who knows what the future holds?
Right. Maybe one day AI will be able to create art that rivals the greatest human masterpieces.
Maybe. But for now, I think it's important to appreciate the unique qualities of human creativity.
Yeah, I agree. There's something special about art that's created by a human being.
Yeah. It's an expression of our emotions, our experiences, our soul.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's shift gears one last time.
Okay.
And talk about something a little more down to earth.
All right, back to reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about all these big ideas, these global challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it all comes down to how we live our lives.
Right, yeah. Finding that balance.
Exactly. And, the book in Oventad Glenta, it offers some really great insights into that.
It does. It's all about finding that unexpected clearing in the midst of all the chaos.
Yeah, that place where we can find peace and fulfillment.
And I love that it includes recipes.
Me too. It's a reminder that, taking care of ourselves is about more than just eating healthy food.
Right. It's about slowing down and enjoying the process.
Yeah, and it's about connecting with the food we eat
Mm-hmm.
and appreciating where it comes from.
Right, yeah. Okay, well, speaking of connecting, our last topic took us on a journey into the world of orangeries.
Oh, yeah. Those were pretty amazing.
They were. I mean, imagine trying to grow oranges and lemons in Sweden.
I know, it's crazy.
It is. But those orangeries, they were a testament to human ingenuity.
They were. And they were also a symbol of wealth and sophistication.
Yeah, they were. And, they kind of give you a glimpse into the history of globalization.
Mm-hmm.
This desire to have things that aren't native to your region.
Right, that desire to connect with other cultures.
Yeah. And it's a desire that's still with us today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Oh.
think about all the things we import from all over the world.
I know, it's incredible.
It is. Okay, well, we've come to the end of our deep dive into the University of Gothenburg.
Wow, that went by fast.
It did. But we've only just scratched the surface.
That's true. There's so much more to explore.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
But I think we've gotten a good taste of what this university is all about.
We have. It's a place of innovation, creativity, and critical thinking.
Yeah, and it's a place that's making a real difference in the world.
It is. So to our listeners, we encourage you to stay curious
Keep exploring.
and never stop learning.
Yeah, there's always something new to discover.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.